This is Dry Creek Valley, so we're up on the eastern bench. That's the western side of Dry Creek. And then the fires are basically back down over there on the other side of that ridge there. So they're definitely closer up here. And they're still being put out, so you still get you're still feeling a little bit of the haze. If you want to see what ash on fruit looks like, just find the spider webs. I mean, obviously, it feels like the understanding of smoke taint is constantly evolving every time we deal with some of this, but
smoke taint being exactly what it says it is.
48 years, never see anything like that.
There's one of two ways that smoke taint can get into juice and into the wine, and part of the challenge in identifying is that there's some gray area. One is just getting stuck and absorbed into the skins, and either staying volatile or in some cases being bound.
And it burned here for 2 weeks. We had picked almost everything at that point, so we didn't have smoke on most of the grapes, but we had Cabernet out, and we had a few little blocks of other and sundries that you could smell you could smell them in the totes, in the picking bins, and they smelled pretty gross. And when they went into the processing, they smelled really bad.
whole clusters in a plastic bag are actually a pretty good way to smell smoke on stuff. And these definitely smell a little campfire-y, which is a real bummer.
Or that smoke can be absorbed, breathed in by the grape leaves.
And then they try to get rid of it because it's a toxin to them, but the way that they do that is they'll flush it out into the fruit.
And it will add a glucose molecule to it, and that usually ends up in the grape berry over the course of sugar loading after veraison, which is why
it's only until you put it into a lab, send it into a lab, or ferment it that you know that it is compromised.
So we're gonna go back and crush it up, inoculate it with some high potency yeast, something that we wouldn't normally use. Probably acidify it because that speeds up the hydrolysis or the cleaving of, it liberates some of the compounds that could show smokiness, and just ferment it as quickly as we can using our kitchen immersion circulator to keep the temps up.
we haven't had a smoke taint vintage until '03 in Australia, so the science on it is still catching up. I mean, there's 2 or 3 really good papers, and that's pretty much what we're talking about for smoke taint.
But there's still going to be a solid vintage from both Sonoma and Napa counties, and so I know from me seeing a lot of publications saying, oh my god, everything's ruined and smoke, it's like, no, there's a couple of silver linings in there. It isn't all lost.
And either way, I think we'll learn a lot based on when the smoke was through here, how long it was here, whether being in this place where you're on this ridge, you have lots of airflow, there's not really any sort of pockets for air to settle. Is that a benefit when it comes to the smoke, or because there's constantly air flowing through here, does that mean more smoke is getting replenished all the time? We don't know any of these things.
And it's just something that's so far out of your control, where if you get certain heat damage, you could say like, oh, we could have managed the canopy differently, we could do better next year. But with smoke, it's just the air itself is poison. So it just makes you feel really small, and that you just had no chance at all.
So what we're doing up here at John's ranch is, this is the really important thing about having such deep, long relationships in the wine industry is, we've been buying fruit from the Teldeschis since 1982. My dad started buying from John's dad, Frank, and I've been buying from John since the very first year of Bedrock. It's always been on a handshake, and I know that if we harvest fruit and tell Johnny we're going to give it a try, and if for some reason it comes back with smoke taint or it's unusable, he's going to be fine with that, and he's just going to appreciate the fact that we're trying. So, it involves extra effort and some risk on our part, but it's, just like last year, we got hit with COVID and our sales, fell through the floor. We were at 10 to 15% receivables, and we had to push off some fruit payments because we had to, like, you know, pay our bills. And there's some growers we had that were pretty pissy and salty about it. And then, you know, I came up to John, and he's one of the biggest growers we work with. And he was just like, you know what, pay me when you can pay me. You know, this is a decade to decade relationship. This isn't a year to year relationship. And, you know, that, you know, means an enormous amount. So, you know, he had my back when he had our back when things were really tough a few months ago. And we're going to do our best to have his right now. And I'm just really hoping that it works out. So check out how beautifully John has developed these vines. Like, the man knows how to develop dry farmed Zinfandel. Like, look, I mean, these vines are 2 years old. They're up, they don't have water, and they are fucking healthy. He does some overhead irrigation with these old school, I think these pipes are probably 50 years old, and does some stuff like that to make sure that they get a couple drinks. But I mean, those vines are going to be beautiful, healthy, productive vines in 3 to 4 years, and dry farmed, which is kind of incredible. Little Cinsault. Very light and crunchy. So you can see why Cinsault is valued back in the 1880s, because it was used as both a table grape and a wine grape. Because you can see it's like very toothsome and crunchy and tastes good, and it's got big berries. The clusters are pretty, so good for the market, but then it also makes very light, attractive wine. So I'm really looking forward to getting this block next year. Sampling Petit Syrah is one of my least favorite varieties, because if it's underripe, the fruit just rips and just juices everywhere. It's just not super pleasant. There's some mixed blacks in here, so that's more Cinsault right there. So this block is pretty incredible on its own, because there's it's Petit Syrah majority, but it also has some Zin, some Valdiguier or Napa Gamay, some Carignan, which is right here, some Cinsault, as I was showing, and then on top of that, some of it's accepted as one of the 13 varieties in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, but it's not widely planted there. A grape called Vaccarez, and there's like 1 or 2 vines of it here, and it's just one of those classic, like, I have no effing idea why. So there's a couple Vaccarez vines here. Oh boy, I'm not a duck. Oh Wyatt, oh Opie, what are you doing? Oh Springer Spaniels. Hi, good dog. Hi, yes, I am all sticky. Well, so John, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna sample today, and then I'm gonna do these accelerated microferms on it as well to just try to see if I can smell anything.
Come up to the house. I got them all.
Okay.
Except this block. I got Malvasia, I got Petite, I got Kerrigan, I got Zin.
Cool.
I've got all the ranches.
Yep.
Kerrigans, I've got it all. And I got a glass.
Sweet.
So some of them are dry, and see what you can pick up.
Yeah, let's do that.
They just, one finished. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't start spoiling yet.
I mean, the science is still so evolving on it. Yeah, so, you know, just trying to get as much info as possible.
Yeah,
but
get as much info as possible, but the one info that I know is they don't want the fucking grape to begin with.
No, that's a fundamental.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is the Vaccarez vine in here.
What's this one called?
It's called Vaccarez. It's like one of the...
Ooh, I like it.
It's one of the 13 acceptable varieties in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, but there they only have like maybe a few acres of it.
Let's plant some.
Yeah, exactly.
That's got a nice...
It's toothsome. It's kind of chunky and sweet. It's kind of low acid.
I like that, but...
Yeah, I think Cinsault's
A
maybe
little
better.
more tannic, I think, on this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, a little more skin thickness. Yeah,
That's
it's crazy.
interesting.
It's the only place I've ever seen it in California. I had to run DNA on it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's a Teldeschi thing.
Let's do it, man. So, yeah, let's get out of the heat. Come up to
let's
the
go.
barn and let's see what I have.
I'll head on up. I know when the dogs are in the shade, it's a good sign. Look at Opie and
Oh, I know.
got the full John Teldeschi. See how fast that Petite is giving up its color. Still green. Yeah, 21.1. So not ready. Yeah, Carrigan is 22.9 on the flat. I don't smell anything concerning there, but it's just so hard to tell. Teldeschi Home Petite Sirah. So this is just starting to ferment. So this is stuff that was rejected by Constellation, and we took as a favor to John just to see. There's something faintly acrid on that.
What happens with this fruit if it has smoke or?
We have to do. We'll throw it out. We'll destroy it, or we'll distill it. Can't really make it into wine. I mean, if it's really, really faint, maybe you can blend it away, but we're just not that big. You know, I think that you can blend a small lot of smoke tainted stuff into a massive blend, but we don't really do that. That wine might have some smoke taint.
You think it has it?
Yeah, there's a little bit of. Yeah, that sucks. There's
So what is like? How do you detect the smoke taint?
For me, I get it retronasally right off the top, just when it hits the mouth, and I get a little bit on the finish. And it's not bad at this point, but it tastes like a little tarry. It tastes almost like I don't know, like when you open up a grill and there's been meat on it, and that you just sort of have a little bit of that smoke character, like a little bit of that like greasy, fat, charry character. There's just the little bit of the faintest hint of it. Hopefully it's just part of fermentation, but it could be. Although if it, yeah, in some ways I want to, if I'm tasting it, that's good because it means that the other stuff is fine, but or hopefully fine, but. Hey, Dad, when you get a chance, can you taste 2602? It's just something about right when it hits the palate.
It's on the nose.
if it's there, it's really marginal. I'm not picking it up. But
Interesting. I got like just this little bit of acridity and tarriness right in the beginning, and then I'm not getting it quite as much on the finish.
Petite Sirah Carignan here.
I know,
And
that's
Johnny's Petite Sirah is really tanning.
Yeah, oh yes, that I know, and it wasn't particularly ripe. The Carignan's the ripe piece in there.
So, I mean, yep, I think that one's marginal. If it's there at all.
Interesting. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, I'm looking for it extra hard in that one, but
Yeah, no, I understand.
it's I just get that little right off the top. So, but yeah, it's Petite Sirah too, which has Guaiacol in it too. So it's
Yeah. So these are all right now. It's still pretty early too. There's still a immense amount of sugar in there.
Oh yeah, it's
So
just
it
starting to
would
ferment.
mask a whole lot of
Well,
potential problems.
That's what I was telling Matt, was sort of like, in some ways I feel like smoke taint, trying to look for smoke taint in the middle of fermentation when you got like all like the hydrogen sulfide and all the stuff going off. It's like every time you cough and you're like, oh my God, do I have COVID? And it's just like every time I smell it, it's like, what weird fermentation odor is that? Is that smoke taint?
Boy, but no,
It's just unhappy yeast. So yeah, but, yeah, it's weird. Well, good. I'm glad.
I really used my imagination. Maybe.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it's not good because I mean, there's no way all of your farming costs are sunk, and you're not getting anything back for them. So 1 year is not good. God forbid something happens 2 years in a row. You're in really, really bad shape. Luckily, 18 and 19 were pretty good crops, so hopefully he's got something in the piggy bank. But you can imagine, like, if you had 2 years in a row like this, that'd be like game over for just about anybody without really deep pockets. And yeah, I mean, and then, or if you're coming into this after 3 really short vintages or something like that, I mean, seems like we're in a drought cycle again. So, like if this had happened in 2016 after the droughts of 13, 14, 15 and crops were down and all that stuff, it could be really, really, really gnarly for a lot of people. And that's what's so scary, is everybody always seems so confident. And this is the thing about climate change in general, is like everybody talks about how hard it is to like make these adjustments that, might stem the trajectory of global warming, but the overall costs are going to be so massive in the long run if all of a sudden this happens every 5th year. I mean, talk to Dad. He dealt with fires like once or twice in like 40 years of, the previous 40 years. And now we've been dealing with them, every few years, it seems like. And it seems like they're going to be a constant issue. Like, what happens if this happens back to back? I mean, people are going to go out of business. Like, industries are going to collapse. Like, it's not like those costs are real. I mean, like, that's, really, really significant. So it's really scary shit. It's really scary.